Hello, everybody, and welcome. We can call this part two of a discussion that we started yesterday, and that's the penny sales tax referendum facing Hillsborough voters in November, the transportation tax. 75% of it will go to light rail and expanded bus systems. 25% goes to road projects. And Tampa Mayor Pam Iorio was our guest yesterday. She talked about the need to pass the referendum, that it would improve Tampa and Hillsborough County's transportation system, also it would create jobs in a tough economy, and finally, with high-speed rail on the way, light rail and better bus service will be the link from downtown to other parts of the city and the county. There's the other side to all of this, and that's what we plan to explore today. Doug Guetzloe is chairman of the Orlando-based political action committee called Axe the Tax. Drove over today, and we appreciate it. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me ask you, what is Axe the Tax? Let's get that out of the way and explain what you guys are all about.
Axe the Tax is a statewide political committee that we set up in 1982, and I sort of laughed because I thought that would be probably the only thing we need to do before we can get the message that we don't need additional taxes. Now, since that time, we've had 14 successful anti-tax battles and referendum issues in Florida, and we've won all but one of them, helping to save taxpayers $32.5 billion. And we have been involved in 6 different transportation initiatives dealing with commuter rail or light rail, and this will be the 7th one that we've been involved in.
And not everything you've done has been in Florida. Sure.
That's correct. No, we've done work in Texas, Tennessee, and Virginia. Axe is successful in all those.
And I don't know if there was a blanket answer for this or not, but I'll let you go and tell me what you think. What is Axe the Tax's problem with light rail?
And how long do we have?
Does it work some places and not work in others?
Well, it depends on what your definition of work is. If you want to spend money, it's a great project. If you want to move people and actually create a transportation alternative, it does not do that. Even this proposal would actually only impact about 1% of the traveling population here in the Hillsborough County area. Well, at a cost of, estimated cost, initial costs are up in the billions to $15 billion in the first 20 years. That is a great deal of money for moving very, very, very few people. So it really is not a true transportation alternative. What it is pretty much a special interest make work project that has been a special pet project of the federal government for years now. But what light rail is a trolley. It's the big electrical contraption at the top and all that. Every community in the United States, except maybe San Francisco, did away with these 70, 80 years ago because they don't work, because they go from point A to point B and that's all. But here in our society today, people need to go to point A, point B, point C, point D, point E, point F, where they work, where they play, and where they live. Rail doesn't go there.
The Moving Hillsborough Forward website, and that's the group that is a proponent of light rail and the referendum, points this out, and I want to get your thoughts on this. We have fallen to, Hillsborough County, we have fallen to dead last in transportation among the top 60 metro areas for commuters trying to get from point A to point B. First of all, do you agree with that?
That's possible.
Okay. So, if that's the case, and you don't approve of light rail, what's the answer? Are there answers?
Yes, there really are answers, and the answers are not only improved road systems and improved smart transportation with cars, but also an enhanced bus system that would really provide what we call a bus hub system, where you have 7 or 8 major hubs in a metropolitan area so that people can just go to one hub and then go to the next one without going to a centralized hub like you have here in Tampa and then go out to different areas. It just takes people too long. Unfortunately, a great many of our citizens have to use bus transportation or some mode of mass transportation to get to work. And if they're working 8 hours a day, it's taking them 12 hours a day just to get to and from work. That doesn't work. So we need enhanced bus systems. We can do synchronized lights, which we don't do. I can't figure that out. We can put a man on the moon, but we can't synchronize 2 blocks of lights here on Kennedy. That doesn't make any sense. You know, you can have a great deal of mobility with some very smart engineering that will not cost you any more money.
We have an email from Dennis. I'll just get right to it. The roads are still in gridlock no matter what they do. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and light rail there has worked for 40-plus years, and that is exactly what Tampa needs. You don't think so?
Well, Dennis may be right about Pennsylvania. In some of the metropolitan areas in the north, rail does work because it actually moves people. It isn't economically feasible, even in the state of New York. The city of New York, which moves 7 or 8 million people in and out every day by rail, the 60% of the cost is covered by fare box. The other 40% are covered by taxpayers. It's heavily subsidized. So does it work? Yes, it moves people. But in this community, Tampa is a heavily sprawled area. I mean, Tampa was built, I was born in Tampa, and Tampa has sprawled out. And as soon as you have sprawl, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with sprawl. What sprawl means is that you can buy a house where you want to buy a house. And if you have a lake somewhere and you want to put 3 acres in a lake and build a house, you can do that. Now, the new urbanists that are pushing this light rail stuff, they want you to live in a condominium on the lake and have a light rail system, and they'll have all the little accoutrements around you so you can have a little village and you don't have to leave. But that's not reality. Reality is the car is our method of transportation. Henry Ford invented the greatest mass transportation system in the world, the automobile, and that's what works, especially in this area when you have tremendous sprawl. You do not have heavy concentrations of population.
One of the things I presented to the mayor yesterday is this has got to be the worst possible time in this economy to propose a sales tax increase of a penny on the dollar. And her argument back to me was, yeah, but as bad as it is and people are out of work, this will create jobs.
It doesn't. The only jobs that are going to be created are from the vested special interests that are going to make billions of money off putting this thing together. And that's been one of the big problems, and we've seen this time and time again in all of our other campaigns, that you have the consulting engineers, the lawyers, and all the people involved with building infrastructure. They make a great deal of money. But give an example, the Tri-Rail system down in Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach, and I know you're familiar with, they have 7 million people in that area. They have 340 people being employed. That's it. And 340 people is better than nothing, but it's not worth $30 billion.
We're going to take a break. Come back with Doug Guetzloe from Wtvt. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. We're visiting with Doug Guetzloe today from Wtvt, and we're talking about the penny sales tax that's going to be on the vote for Hillsborough County come November. I want to give you an opportunity to clear the air about something. Some articles. When I Googled you and your organization, your motives were brought into question, that you were paid $200,000 by the Orlando Magic to go away as an opponent of their new arena. Did you offer yourself as a hired proponent for a new school in Orange County that you would be in favor of it if they hired you? There have been a lot of allegations against your organization.
There have been, and they're allegations directly against me. There's been no evidence of any of the allegations, but they certainly are, they throw them out there. Probably the only humorous part of being accused of taking $200,000, which I guess I should be complimented that I'm worth $200,000. The only humorous part of that was when I arrived home that day when it appeared in the Orlando Sentinel, and my wife said, "Where's the $200,000?" She said, "An offshore account." After a full investigation by the state attorney's office and everyone else, the Magic cannot produce anything that we've ever done any work for them. Never had an email with them, never had a conversation, never had a payment. We actually asked for evidence that they could back up their allegation, which was simply an allegation, and they said they had no comment and referred everything. Their attorneys, the state attorneys, subpoenaed all their records and found nothing.
Okay, so...
Well, that's it. It's just a great allegation.
All right.
It's one we might use sometime.
From Rick from email, all your talk is Tampa Hillsborough. Is this thing and not going to play a part in Pinellas St. Pete? Our bus system keeps going up in price and down in service. And I guess we are talking right now with this. Tampa and Hillsborough.
Right, it's
light rail.
Tampa right now, but there is some talk of course, spanning it to Pinellas County, and there's been some talk from the St. Petersburg political leaders of doing that. But I think that the best bet would be, as he points out, to really improve the bus system, and that is, I think, the key to moving people. If you really want to move people, there's so much you can do to improve the bus system and make it more usable and make it more amenable to people that actually have to use it. Rail is just simply a hole in which you pour money. I mean, it is not something that actually moves people. And if you look at the route and you look at most people that are for it would never use it.
Got another from Eric. People are tired of the driving commute. The reason people don't ride the public transportation now is because the system doesn't have enough scheduled routes. If you have more scheduled buses and also a connecting rail, you will definitely have riders that feel it is worth taking public transportation. I think you probably agree with half of that.
Half of that, yeah. I do. Well, there's a lot of talk of connectability, and there's been talk of connecting the high-speed rail with the light rail and all that. They don't really connect. They're two different systems, and the buses are the same way. I mean, you actually with light rail, you have to create parking areas, and you have to have additional transportation, because one of the great questions that I have for them is when you're on the rail system, you get off the rail. Let's say you get on and park your car somewhere in Temple Terrace, whatever, you get on, you come downtown. What do you do then?
You mean once you get to downtown?
Yeah. Once you get to your destination, what do? You know what they say? You walk. Well, that's helpful if you're within a block or two. Right. What if you're within a mile? What do you do?
Yeah. You brought up high-speed rail, and I want to ask you about that, because high-speed rail is one thing. That is what, so far from Tampa, stops in Lakeland, goes all the way to Orlando. Stops at Disney, I guess, goes to Orlando, and then to the airport and that sort of thing. What happens, though, when that high-speed rail train is built and it stops in downtown Tampa? And what are the folks supposed to do? Get a cab and use the existing bus service?
I'm going to ask Mayor Arroyo to give me the rickshaw service for Tampa. I want the Guetzloe rickshaw service, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get from high-speed rail. But if people are coming that are actually traveling, and that's really more of a tourist train than it is anything else, what are you going to do with your bags? What are you going to, how are you going to move those? Who's going to, if you're flying into or you're coming into Tampa and you want to go to Orlando, if you're taking bags with you to stay, I mean, all these logical type questions have never been answered. But it sounds great and it sounds good, but it's not going to work. And financially, it's a disaster.
Doug Guetzloe, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
The organization is Axe the Tax, and you can go to their website, which is axthetax.org. Thank you all for sharing your opinions with us today. We hope you have a great weekend. Now, a final check of the forecast and the day's top stories.